Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Boxing Unwrapped. It's Boxing Unwrapped, a boxing podcast by two guys who are old enough to be fighting Canelo. I'm Ryan.
Sad but true. I'm Andrew.
And welcome to What the F is the Boxing News, guys. The boxing podcast that gives you everything you need to know from last week and everything you need to know for this week's boxing. Andy, do you want to tell the good people what we've got in store for them?
Yeah, of course. So we're going to look at what the results are from last week, and there's a fair few things to go over, including the aforementioned Canelo Kovalev fight, as well as plenty of others. The good, the bad, and the ugly, I think, is all in there. We will look ahead to the fights this week, as well as this weekend, if you know what I'm referencing. What went wrong last week? Perhaps that might be a little bit short. There's a fair bit of random news to cover, a fair few things going on. We will, of course, let off some steam when we're talking about what grinds our gears, and we'll round off with a little bit of the old listener corner.
Well, why don't we dive right in then to what the F are the results from last week?
Well, so where would you like to start? I'd like to give you the choice, Ryan. Where would you like
Right,
to start?
why don't we start on Saturday night then with the Matchroom card? I think that's a good one to start with.
Okay. So, fight of the night, once again, fighting every fortnightly, ever so rightly. This was the performance of the evening. Martin Bakole knocking out journeyman Rodney Hernandez in 2 rounds.
Oh, man. I mean, fucking hell. Martin Bakole. Do you want to know something interesting about Martin Bakole?
Yes.
He now follows me on Instagram.
No, he doesn't.
I swear to Christ, right? I was as shocked as you were. I started following Martin Bakole because I was like, do you know what? I really should follow Martin Bakole. And he fucking went and followed me back. And I was like, this is a sign. We're going to get Martin Bakole on this fucking show after I tell him he's the pride of Airdrie.
He's only going to come on for between 3 and 6 minutes, so that's the bad thing. Oh, dear.
I mean, look, he is what he is. Do you know what, though? I mean, it's not like he's had shit tons of fights. Do you know what I mean? He's got 16 fights now, right? Mm-hmm. So if we look at people who are in a similar ilk,
like Josh Taylor, he's only in 16 fights.
Well, okay, I mean that
professionally.
Yeah, well, okay, maybe not quite, but you know, like Bacole's fought some diddies. You know, Dubois fought some diddies. You know, I mean, it's probably maybe time that they start stepping up Martin Bakole, at least if they want to like put him out against someone who's a bit bigger in name.
Well, actually he has been fairly active, I would say. So the defeat to Hunter was just over a year ago, and since then he's fought 4 more times, including the last 2 weeks.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Do you know what it is? He's needing to hand out some Christmas presents around Airdrie, so he needs some extra money.
Totally. And like while Dave Allen's laid up, they're like, "Fuck, man, he's the new Dave Allen. Just fucking roll him out because he's fucking good. He's good. He's good crack, Martin Bakole.
I think he's a fairly substantially better boxer than Dave Allen as well. So I don't know. I think it's fine. He's had to kind of build back up fights. It's weird though, because when he fought after Hunter, he fought Wack, who's like reasonable, and then he's fought like lower standard guys, including 100-year-old Kevin Johnson since. So I don't know. His name's out there. He needs to. I think it's time to fight like a better name again. So he needs to like go back up a level. So we'll see who he fights next, and in a fortnight's time at this ratio.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Should we talk about the snooze fest?
Yeah, well, is it this specific fight, or are you just categorizing all of Anthony Crolla's fights?
I mean, I think both, but this fight was not as an exciting fight.
No, and a lot of the chat online certainly was that he was little bit fortunate potentially to get the decision, or it could certainly have gone the other way. It was pretty close against a pretty low level guy, but Crolla's had he's overachieved versus his talent, hasn't he? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it kind of goes to show why he needs to retire.
Yeah,
because he just doesn't have it.
Yeah, it's in decline, and I guess you would ask questions about whether he was, trained as much as he should have, or whether he was all like mentally there. This is all speculation, but you would have thought he would have beaten this guy because Urquiaga, not a high level fighter, but anyway, he beat him in the end, got the decision, and bows out after a fairly impressive career, really, and especially given that he was not the most talented boxer that ever laced up the gloves. So I think fair play to him, and also getting out if he does retire and stay retired. Certainly not where he's massively in decline and is a punching bag for other boxers. So reasonable.
Yeah.
Not a great fight though.
Should we talk about the Katie Taylor fight?
Yes, we should, versus Christina Linardatu.
Now, we all know I like Katie Taylor, but this was not the fight that we wanted to see.
No.
And it wasn't impressive.
No, this is my point. I don't know if Taylor's being like found out and people are adjusting to her, or if she's suffering from an issue whereby, for whatever reason, her amateur like spectacular achievements are not translating that well, not amazingly well, to the professional game. Like, clearly she's very successful. She was like an undisputed champion, wasn't she? And she's a 2-weight world champion. But the sort of women that we thought when she's fighting she would school and dominate in the same way that Shields is doing, she is not doing. No.
And her opponent did actually call her out and say that she was a fake.
That's nice. A fake what? What fake? How
she didn't beat Delphine Persoon. That she's not as good as everyone thinks she is.
I don't think she is.
That she shouldn't win fights, but she just they tip it over for her because of her name and shit like that.
Well, certainly the Persoon fight was highly contentious. I think it was fair that she won this fight, but I think the other point is obviously that it wasn't particularly comprehensive, and Linardatu closed the gap in the second half of the fight. So I think there's an issue about really.
Do you think it's fitness? Do you think it's fitness? I also think as well, because obviously Katie Taylor's coming up against better opponents now, right? You'd think at belt level she'd come up against better opponents, but now at the multiple belt levels she's coming up against much better opponents, and her typical style of just going all out, throwing bunches of punches and smothering opponents just doesn't work. And actually she's not knocking them out because they're a bit hardier than the people that she was facing before.
Yeah.
And so they can actually take this barrage because she doesn't necessarily have the power. So I think now it's maybe time they change her game plan back to basics and actually learning to box a little bit.
Yeah, I think I agree. So I think there seems to be an issue whereby she's not necessarily coping that well with the physicality of some of her opponents. Certainly that was the issue with Persoon, wasn't it? And it was kind of the issue again with Linardatu, that they seem to bring an extra physicality that she's struggling to cope with. So I don't know if it's like a conditioning or if it's just like a physical strength issue that wouldn't be exposed to such a degree in the amateurs compared to, you know, over the grueling longer matches in the professionals. But I don't know. I think they'll try and angle it so that she gets her super fight. Either that or a rematch against Pursue.
Well, the chat from Eddie Hearn is that he wants her to headline Sky Sports pay-per-view in 2020.
Against Brackhouse.
Well, against Brackhouse, Pursoon, or Amanda Serrano.
I don't think Serrano's I don't think people would care. I don't think Serrano would work. I think maybe one of the other two you'd maybe...
Yeah, I mean, definitely Pursoon because there's bad blood there.
Yeah, which is maybe more interesting to people than saying this is two of the, you know, top women boxers. Maybe that would be more of a draw, actually, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, because everyone likes a bit of a kind of story, don't they? So...
Certainly do.
Yeah. But, underwhelmed, I think...
Yes.
Underwhelmed.
Yes.
And I think maybe people need to stop licking her arse now and say, look, Katie, like, you've pipped these 2 fights, but, like, you know, your luck is going to run out soon, possibly against Pursoon. And, you know, you need to, like, go back to boxing now and learn to box professionally. So that you can, like, sit back, you know, pip a couple of rounds here. Don't go fucking wild. Mm-hmm. That kind of shit, you know. But that's my advice to Katie Taylor, if she'd like to take it.
Okay, good.
Now, shall we talk about the big one?
Yes.
Canelo versus Kovalev. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, this was interesting. So... First of all, we should say that we got our predictions wrong. We knew we were going out on a limb a little bit.
Yeah, wildly wrong. But, you know, I did mention this on Facebook, so I put stuff up about predictions on Facebook. And I think the moment I knew that he was going to lose was the second time they went to weigh in and he didn't make it, right? I was like, fuck, because he looked drained. He looked fucking ghostly, right? And he missed it by like a quarter of a pound or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, fuck, he's got this wildly wrong here. And so I was like, because if he's drained that much and still isn't making weight, and he's only able to add like 10 pounds on the day, right? Yes. Then actually he's going into that fight still dehydrated. You know?
Well, I mean, you can rehydrate a bit in the morning off, can't you? Like after the morning weigh-in, before the fight, you can in theory rehydrate a bit. But yeah, it did not bode well.
No. You know, and like, I mean, I've never heard of him having problems making weight like that before.
I don't remember hearing about it, but it's possible he has. I don't know, but I mean, certainly the sort of received wisdom is the older you get, the harder it is to make weight because the sort of composition of your body changes, so you become more heavy for the same volume somehow. So, and he's no spring chicken. So.
No, he's not. He's not. But having said all that, right, I think he put in a smart performance for most of the fight, actually. You know, Canelo wasn't particularly effective. Okay, like Kovalev's jab wasn't as menacing as it usually is.
No,
so,
it wasn't.
You know, like when we watched him against Anthony Yard... you know, that was some fucking jab he was throwing. He was knocking that out. Whereas, like, it was more aimed at Canelo's gloves to kind of keep Canelo at distance, rather than like trying to be like a harmful jab. If you get what I'm saying. But you know, Canelo really wasn't getting in, and as soon as he got in, what did Kovalev do? He tied him right the fuck up. it was pretty smart going in terms of self-preservation, I think. But unfortunately, he got real tired. And he got real tired, and his hands dropped, and Canelo did knock him out pretty badly.
Yeah, it was quite a flashy knockout, wasn't it?
Canelo was looking for that hook the entire fight.
Yeah, he was looking for the counter hook the whole time, wasn't he? He timed it well at points, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think Kovalev was a bit worried because obviously Canelo's got the faster reflexes, able to throw more quickly, so he felt like he was getting countered quite a lot. So I think it made him apprehensive. But I was just looking at I just brought up the punch stats. I know people love punch stats, but just looking at the punch stats, seeing kind of what was what. But I was just looking. So if I'm reading this correctly, Canelo only threw half the number of punches that Kovalev did.
Absolutely.
But but he really doesn't do that much in terms of doesn't throw a lot of jabs, does he, Alvarez? He never does.
No, he does. He's not big on throwing the jab.
No.
He's more of a counter puncher, so he's kind of looking for those hooks once someone kind of throws their jab.
He's got the head movement. He's missing it. He's evading it, and then he's umfa. Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
And it's because Kovalev was having to be the busier fighter to keep Canelo at that distance. However, it was effective. It really was effective, and Kovalev was nicking rounds left, right, and center.
But of course, the cards were not in his favor at the time of the stoppage.
No, they weren't. Well, I mean, do you say that's because it was in Vegas?
Well, I mean, the sort of the cliche is that you can't beat Canelo on points. I suppose Mayweather did, didn't he? But
but he was also a Vegas boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, no one in the current era is gonna get a decision against Canelo in Vegas, and obviously people point to especially the first match against Triple G as indication of that. But I mean, for me, the thing about Kovalev, sometimes when he was throwing, it didn't look like he was really. It looked like his power kind of started to diminish a bit. I don't know. I didn't see him able to. I mean, there was at least one point in the fight, one of the fights with Golovkin, where Canelo was definitely rocked, and he had to. He wasn't out on his feet, but he was definitely hurt. And Kovalev, I don't think, landed enough meaningful blows or putting enough power behind them. He just didn't seem to have. He didn't really seem to be able to put much of a dent in him. And as the bigger man who's been fighting at this heavier weight, I would have thought that he would have been able to do that. And I think Canelo's knockout was obviously a big part down to Kovalev being so fatigued. He was kind of ready to go, which he made reference to himself, didn't he?
Yeah.
But I would have thought Kovalev would have at some point tried to put a bit of a dent in him, but didn't seem to happen.
Now, do you know what is interesting, right? So the live blogging for DAZN, right, was done by this guy, Stephen Muehlhasen, right? Okay. He had Kovalev winning 7 of the rounds.
At the time of the stoppage?
At the time of the stoppage.
That's interesting.
Now, it might be because he's a big fucking Kovalev fan. But, I also, now, I think some of it is down to what do you like. Now, I would have liked to see Kovalev's jabs going through Canelo's guard a bit more, and maybe him, changing levels with that jab, so it wasn't just to the face, it was also at the body and stuff like that. Yeah. And he wasn't so stiff. But, if we're talking about game plans, Kovalev's game plan was absolutely working, and Canelo wasn't able to get in and cause damage. It wasn't back and forth. It was just Kovalev was kind of dictating the pace of the fight the whole way round. So do you call that effective aggression? I probably would. You know, ringmanship. Yeah, I probably would call that as well. So, if you're not a Vegas judge, I think you definitely can say that Canelo could be down on the cards.
There was one judge had it level, which I think was maybe more was pretty reasonable. But like you say, it is what you like, and obviously the judges are seeing it from a different perspective than we are. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's a lot of chat about the specifics about, Alvarez is a bit of a legend. Well, yes, he is. Definitely one of the best fighters of generation. But, I'm a little bit apprehensive about this all-time great stuff because he's been, if that's not a contradiction in itself, because it's like he does sometimes pick opponents and... I know he's gone up substantially. I mean, he's a small man to be fighting at light heavy, but I mean, really, if you want to demonstrate that you're willing to take big risks, then and you want to fight a light heavy, fight Beterbiev or Bivol, or if you want to fight at super middle, fight Callum Smith.
Absolutely. I kind of put it out to the Facebook page, and I think it's pretty split amongst our audience,
I agree, it is, yeah.
Some people are saying absolutely, like Kovalev was picked, for this.
Well, he was picked for it. Yeah, I mean, he was picked for this. I think you can't say he's the strongest light heavyweight. Not now, not at 36. He might have been the Ward fights or
yeah.
Ward fights.
Then you do have someone like Eric. Was saying he went up to light heavyweight and beat one of the best light heavyweights since Andre Ward.
Mm-hmm. But and he did. It's not like Kovalev's a terrible fighter. We saw it. He just beat Yard, although that was a close fight. But it shows that he's still can compete at a high level. For Canelo to be competing at high levels at light heavy is impressive. It's just about.
But he's not beaten Bivol.
He's not beaten Bivol. He's not beaten Beterbiev. If he wants to take on one of those and beat him, if he beats them, then I think in terms of when we're reflecting back at the end of his career, the people that know a little bit would say, well, look, actually beating one of those guys in their prime is putting you in a pretty, you're then establishing yourself as much more likely this all-time kind of great stuff. It's much easier to make the case for him when you're going up 2 weight divisions and beating absolute beasts in their prime. Yeah. Then you can be like, well, look, this guy really is the real deal. Whereas I think if he's fighting people like Kovalev instead, who at that stage of their career and with all this out of the ring troubles, etc., then you're at least letting yourself be challenged with a question mark about it.
Agreed, and he's also not saying, oh well, I'm so good, I'll take on Callum Smith. Because he knows Callum Smith would destroy him.
I don't know if he'd destroy him. I certainly would fancy him. I certainly think he's likely to beat him. I think
you know what he would do? Do you know what Callum Smith would do? He'd just put his arm out onto Canelo's head, and Canelo would just be swinging there, unable to hit him.
Like a schoolyard bully.
A schoolyard bully, exactly.
I think he maybe would. I think, I would. I think that would be a very interesting fight, but yeah, I would not. I don't think. I'd be very surprised if Canelo would come out with a V out of that one. But anyway, these are the sort of fights. If you want to be building this amazing legacy and leave yourself as one of the best ever, despite the fact that he's very arguably lost 2 fights to Golovkin, at least one, I think less contentiously. I think most people thought he lost the first one. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But he's got 8 fights left, does he, in his deal?
Yes, he does. So he'll be around for a while, just smashing up fucking people who are just on their way down.
I think he'll fight Super Middle next, and I think he'll fight Benavidez or Plant or maybe
BJS. BJS, I think, is a good shout.
I think it's super middle because I don't think BJS needs to be there. I think Canelo will have a lot more power at super middle than BJS. They'd be like, it's more in his favor to fight there rather than at middle. So I think maybe he fights him.
Yeah.
Him or Benavidez or Plant. I think he steers well clear of Callum Smith. But I would love to be proven wrong.
Now, also, should we just have a little mention about my boy Ryan Garcia?
Yes. Now he won and won well, didn't he?
Yeah. He fought Romero Duno on the card on this Matchroom DAZN card, and he knocked him out in 98 seconds.
Liking that.
Just like pretty comprehensive. So I still so early in his career though. Like he's not fighting guys who really are known. Right?
No. Well, he had that. He had a sticky fight or two, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So then they kind of slowed him down. They're like, "Whoa, put the brakes on the hype train." He's only 20. He's only 21 as well, so it's fine.
Now, shall we move on then to what?
No.
Why not?
No. Because we've got another fight to talk about.
Which fight's this?
Sunday night on ESPN. Sorry, Saturday night into Sunday, ESPN from California. Miguel Berchelt versus Jason Sosa.
Ah, right, yes.
Now, I want to mention this because I really like Berchelt. I really like this guy. I really like him. I think he has been eating his Weetabix because he's fucking huge. So they're talking about what the adjustments, the commentators who were like Mexican Americans, I think, on the stream that I watched this on, were talking about how with Berchelt, he needs to be more clever about his defense to be able to progress as like one of, to go down as one of the generation's best like pressure fighters. Because he brings the thunder. My God, does he watch? If anyone's not watched it, watch his last fight. Watch the fight against Sosa. Last 4 rounds, he just brings the thunder. He lays it on him. He doesn't really let off. Sosa tries to fight fire with fire. Berchelt is so heavy-handed. He's just battering the shit out of people. So it'll be interesting to see. He fights at super feather. So I'd be very interested to see if he fights boxing's favourite idiot, Davis, if he's going to campaign at super feather or if he's moving up to lightweight. I don't know. I can't remember what he said he was going to do, but would be very interested to see him fight Davis. But he's a pressure fighter, but he's a power pressure fighter, and he gets hit. He's quite open. He's quite easy to hit, but he just seems to have a granite chin and. Just like smashing shit out of people, so he's very entertaining to watch. Davis he might fight, or Farmer would be the other one that would be interesting to see him fight. Farmer's a bit more techers, but Berchelt's a bit more fucking huge and powerful. So,
right,
two out of those 3 I'd like to see a fight. But yeah, very impressive. Sosa's a high level guy.
Still got the thunder taken to him.
He did. Fucking, he got knocked out in I think it was the first or the second round. He got knocked down in the first or the second round.
Fucking hell.
Did well to survive to the 4th. He took so much punishment before his corner threw in the towel. They're like, no more Jason. Stop Jason. So yeah. Sorry, that's it from me.
Right, well, let's move on to what the F are the fights this week/end.
Week/end.
So now, UK has a broadcaster for the World Boxing Super Series.
Yes, so your Thursday lunchtime just got a whole lot more interesting.
Live on Sky Sports. Well, I mean, I guess it is something, but I'm a bit like, well, what the fuck, man? Like, it's very nice that you've found a UK broadcaster, but could you have not put that on, I don't know, like some sort of free-to-air channel just to try and get some viewers in? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll be kicking about. I can watch it, but I work at home. Do you know what I mean? Like, all my clients phoning me and stuff like, no, I've got a big meeting between 2 and 4. You know, I've got to be dealing with the Japanese.
I've got to speak to some people in the East. I don't know what time. So the broadcast starting at a bit after 12. So I don't know what time the fight's supposed to be. Probably like 1 or something.
Yeah, I mean, and it'll only last moments.
This is the thing.
Because both Innoues are actual fucking monsters. They're both knocking boys out.
Well, the younger Innoue, Takuma Innoue, is broadly considered to not be nearly as good. He's a pretty big underdog for his fight against Ubali. Whereas Naoya Innoue is not an underdog.
No.
It's which of the first few rounds will he knock out Donairre? I think I've read some things that are saying, Donairre's got the ring craft. He'll make it competitive and he'll last a good few rounds. I do not believe that will be true. I know he knocks him out early. Do you want to do a bet? Do you want to do a little bet?
Okay, I'm gonna say that Naoya Innoue knocks him out within the first round.
Love it. You've given me only one way to go from there, have you?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's like, you know, those people on The Price is Right, and sometimes they're like, my bid is £1.
Let's see. I want to see what odds you can get on that. That sounds like quite a nice bet if you're feeling confident.
Yeah, I think it might be actually.
Innoue round 1, you can get
Evens.
9-1. No, 9-1.
Do you know what? That's not bad actually, because I think it's probably about accurate. To be honest, like, unless Nonito Donairre does everything to stay away from Naoya Innoue in the first round,
just like runs around the ring backwards, doesn't even look at him, just runs around.
It's the only thing I can think.
I think he'll knock him out, but I think he'll be like third round.
Okay.
Third round.
Going conservative.
Yeah, no. I think he'll size him up first, just like feel him out and then knock him out in the third round. If you like Donairre, by the way, 5 or 6-1. Jeez. That seems very optimistic.
I think that's extremely optimistic.
A lot of Filipinos betting on him. That surely has come in. Like, I do not give him anywhere near that much of a chance of winning.
No.
I give him basically 0 chance of winning.
No.
Anyway, we'll see. I think the first time he lands clean, poof, he just explodes on people's chins. That sounds a bit wrong.
It's true.
So that's your Thursday lunchtime taken care of, folks. You're welcome. Thanks to Sky Sports.
Fuck my life. Right, well, now let's talk about the fights this weekend.
I don't want to.
We've got to.
Right.
Because they are professional boxing fights this time round. And there's a couple of people on the cards that are actually probably worthwhile watching.
I do not think that's true. No, there is. Well, so, okay, fine. So we're talking about the pay-per-view headlined by Logan Paul and KSI. A lot of chat online about Logan Paul's, how shall we say, fitness overhaul being rather impressive. I think a lot of people, a lot of the scathing comments suggesting if he's done it entirely without aid, because it's such a radical transformation within a relatively short period.
I know, and they're not registered with the clean boxing program, are they?
I wouldn't have thought so.
No. I don't know what sort of drug testing there was going on with this fight, but
he's looking hench, right?
He is fucking hench, man. He's hench. Like,
But this is all he's had to do. He could have basically trained like a professional, couldn't he, in the interim? Because he'll have like a big money to spend on like a support staff, a trainer, and a coach, and everything. And what else is he going to be doing?
Well, making videos, I think, is what he's supposed to be doing.
Oh Jesus!
He's trained by Shannon Briggs. So
he's a nutter. He's an absolute nut job, is he?
Yeah, totally. He's fucking. He's absolutely insane.
But he was a pretty fucking decent boxer, pretty high level guy.
Yeah, so it's good to have him in the corner, but he is looking ridiculous. Like, so
he looks like. In terms of the rest of the fight card, chief support is British boxing's favourite idiot Billy Joe Saunders versus Marcelo Esteban Costeres.
I'd like to know if this is going to be peak BJS or if this is not peak BJS.
I think it's going to be peak BS.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be peak. We'll see how he looks, but Costeres is rubbish.
I think that they want him to look real good at this fight on DAZN. US audience, then line him up with Canelo.
For Canelo. Makes a lot of sense, Ryan. You do talk sense sometimes.
I do.
I think it must be by accident.
I
But
think
sometimes it just pops out.
Just pops out.
Your boy Devin Haney's on the card as well.
Exciting. I like Devin Haney, man. I think he's a good fighter.
There's a lot to like.
Yeah. He's exciting.
He's got some skills. Young, exciting, world champion. Now, he got his world championship belt without having to fight for it, which seems a little bit unusual.
Oh, well, yeah, but it's because now Lomachenko is a fucking franchise champion, isn't he?
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Franchise?
So Lomachenko's now a franchise champion.
And so he got upgraded, yeah.
So he got upgraded, which I think is kind of bullshit, actually, because, like, don't get me wrong, I like Devin Haney. I think he's exciting. But, his record doesn't scream world champion to me at this stage.
He's not fought very many high level guys. He is super young, isn't he? He's like 21. 21? 20. Yeah. Not even 21 yet. Anyway.
If you think about the other people in the division who deserve that belt, Teofimo, to say the least. There's a good fight though, Devin Haney to Teofimo Lopez. I think.
Oh, you like that one?
I like it. I like that fight. I think actually my boy.
Down the line that'll happen.
I think Lopez pops it though at this point because he's just so destructive, man. But
interesting.
We gotta wait until Comey.
So anyway, he's fighting, but he's defending his newly crowned, newly received, full-on, no longer interim lightweight title, and he's fighting Alfredo Santiago. And if you're wondering, now where have I heard that name before? You haven't heard it before because you'll never fucking heard of him unless you're a hardcore boxing fan, because no one's heard of him. Because he has spent his whole career fighting in the Dominican Republic he's not. He's been fighting his whole career in Puerto Rico, but he's from the Dominican Republic. 24 with a record of 12-0. But he has fought not really anyone of note, has he? Let me see. Let me just retract what I'm saying a little bit.
This is where we're going to get like someone tweeting us in, like, oh, he's like fucking ranked second in the world.
I am not sure that's the case. I was going to say, my internet's just stopped on my computer. That's a bit worrying. Right. Jonathan Victor Barros, he's beaten him, and I'm pretty sure I've heard of him.
I don't know.
But it doesn't really matter.
Delphine Pursoon is back in action on Monday. By the way,
you just saying stuff whenever you feel like it now. Is that
I'm just saying.
Were you just filling the space?
I'm just filling the space, filling the dead air.
Do you know what? Delphine Person's fighting on the Monday.
She is very, very random. Very random. It's on a Monday, but it'll be interesting to see. Like, that sounds like a Box Nation fucking event right there, man.
I'm not talking about Box Nation. Don't get me started.
I know.
Very upset. Okay, so that's that. It's pay-per-view in the UK. You were saying about getting the kids to fork out for a pay-per-view rather, on TV, bigger money rather than the YouTube. It's in the UK,
well, then they're gonna have to ask mommy and daddy to buy it. But they might be smart and know that, Sky Sports will put it up the next day, so they don't need to watch it.
Well, soon enough, yeah. But they won't. It's not the same. You don't do that.
Right, well, shall we move on then to our newest segment, The 6 Degrees of Danny Williams.
When does it cease to be our new segment? We have to get another segment.
Exactly. When we run out of people connected to Danny Williams, right?
Well, that's obviously...
Never going to happen. So, I've got a great one for you.
No, you don't.
I do. I want you to go... from Airdrie's finest, Martin Bakole, to Danny Williams. Now,
I can do this really. I've done it. I can do it.
Yeah, you can do it really, really quickly, I think.
Well, I don't know if I'm doing this the easiest way, but I was thinking you can do it via Michael Hunter.
Yes.
Usyk.
Yes.
Bellew.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yep.
Williams.
Yes, you can do it that way.
Is that a really convoluted?
It was slightly convoluted, but you still managed. The fastest route is Martin Bakole to Kevin Johnson.
Kevin fucking Johnson.
Derek Chisora, Danny Williams.
I didn't think of it, Kevin Johnson.
Oh,
I got hooked on Michael Hunter.
He is like the American fucking Danny Williams, right? Because he is also connected to every fucker. So, if you need someone, if you ever need to go, who is this person fought? Just throw out Kevin Johnson because it's probably true. He'd be like, he did look good that time against Kevin Johnson, though, didn't he? Yeah, exactly. Because, you forget that Kevin Johnson has also fought a Klitschko, right? He's fought a fucking... Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you've always got a connection between Kevin Johnson and a Klitschko. Well, then let's move on to what the F went wrong last week.
Well, so we got it wrong about there not being a... Did we talk about there not being a... Specifically talked about there not being a rehydration clause in the Canelo Kovalev fight?
Yes. I think we did,
and
actually.
What we meant to say was that there is a rehydration clause in the Canelo Kovalev fight. So they could only come in at... what do you call it? It was £10 over the so £185 the morning of the fight was
because it's IBF.
IBF is the ones that have that as their stipulation.
Yeah, and so we got called out for the second week in the row by our boy Andy/Champs. He's now our fact checker, I think. To be honest, I think that's a better way of doing it.
Yeah, that's a better way for us all to sort of think of it. Yeah, I'm on. That's fine. So, what's that program where they have countdown? Is it?
Yeah. We got Susie Dent in count. Yeah. He's our Susie Dent.
Raking through the boxing annals.
Totally been like, you guys are really fucking wrong.
You're wrong about this. You're wrong about this, and you're definitely wrong about this. At least we keep trying.
Exactly.
The character of a man is not whether he falls down or whatever the quote is. It's about how he gets back up.
Exactly.
It's about how you respond in the face of adversity. That's what defines you.
And we just keep recording.
We just keep on recording. Keep that record button pressed.
So, anything else?
No, I don't want to talk about it.
No. Okay. Right, so random news.
Yeah.
So, shall we talk about the other fight that happened on Saturday into Sunday between two of boxing's biggest idiots?
Do you think that's what they were fighting about? They're like, no, I'm boxing's biggest idiot. And like, no, I'm boxing's biggest idiot. Well, I'm taller than you and I'm an idiot, so therefore I'm boxing's biggest idiot. No, fuck you. No, fuck you.
Fuck you all.
Apparently there was an altercation outside Canelo's dressing room between Adrian Broner and Gervonta Davis. Now, the parties, I don't think, as far as I'm aware at this point, have acknowledged that this happened, but it's been widely reported that I think Broner lamped Davis and one of his entourage. So, how true it is, I don't know, but them's the rumour facts that we have for you.
I know. That's like... I mean, I can see it happening because they're both fucking idiots.
Yes. Yeah, they are both idiots.
You know? And
so it makes it very plausible. But this is the problem about being an idiot, is that when you are accused of doing idiotic things, it's harder to defend yourself against them because it's so within character.
Now, talking about idiots, okay? I don't know if you've seen this, okay?
Well,
Andy Ruiz Jr. posts a picture of himself injecting a fellow boxer in the ass.
What?
Yeah. So this happened during the week. He put this up online, okay? The newly is he slimmed down, is he not Andy Ruiz posts a video with him injecting a fellow boxer in the backside with what they claim to be saying is vitamin B12.
Right.
Right?
Well,
but here's the thing, right? Apparently, shots of vitamin B12 are not usually injected into muscles. So, I don't know. It looks fucking weird. And why is Andy Ruiz injecting another person? Right? I mean,
he's not a medical professional.
He's certainly not a medical professional, right? You know? So
it's just a bit weird, huh?
It's a really strange thing to kind of post, especially in this like real heated age of peds. Why are you doing this? Why are you allowing anyone to come back at you at any point and say, well, the reason he managed to do this is because he's on the fucking juice?
It's very strange. I think sometimes he's a bit misinformed about it. Some of his actions seem a bit odd. Certainly, I don't know what he was like before he won all the belts, but like he's certainly making some interesting choices post.
Agree.
That's a very strange. I mean, even if I was going to inject a man in the ass with vitamins, I wouldn't feel the need to share it on social media.
No.
And I would be quite keen, probably, for no one else to share it on social media.
No, I'd be like, look, please don't share this, right? Let's just keep this between you and me.
Yeah.
Right.
Because someone might think that we're doing something and it's, a bit weird that we're injecting stuff and, it might be a bit of chat.
There might be a bit of chat about me injecting you in the ass with this. I'm not a medical professional. There doesn't seem to be any medical professionals around.
Very strange.
So strange. So, yeah. So that happened.
Have you got any more random news, Ryan?
Well, you've got Dillian White again. Okay.
Right.
Now, I think right now is probably a time that needs to like be a bit chill, right? But there's still stuff coming out about him chatting about TUEs and like Joshua not getting TUEs, and that's what was led to him getting knocked out. I don't know.
He does like to chat a lot about that, about Joshua being a drug taker.
Oh, I've read some stuff about like TUEs, and it seems that like, let's say I have like a level of testosterone that I should have at my age. Okay,
Let's imagine.
that for a minute. But I don't have that level of testosterone running through my body.
Oh, you poor thing.
I might be able to get a doctor to prescribe me the amount of testosterone that would take me up to that full natural level. And this would allow me to get a TUE for testosterone, and that would be fine to use because I would only be at my natural peak level. So.
I read about it in the context of the cycling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I might be a cyclist and I might have some form of asthma.
Yes.
So I might be able to get a TUE for some form of treatment for my asthma, which removes my asthma and returns my breathing to a normal level. But the coincidental thing about the asthma treatment is that it might make me a super fucking human. It might somehow accidentally massively increase my aerobic capability.
Yes.
So stuff like that. Maybe I'm exaggerating slightly, but in sports there's fine margins, etc., etc.
Yeah, totally.
There was this stuff, all the heart drugs that all the tennis players were taking until it got banned.
Totally.
Because it was like, oh well, I need this for my heart condition. You're a 70-year-old man. No, you're not. You're an athlete in your 20s. What?
I know. Maria Sharapova has a fucking heart condition.
Oh, me. So yeah, it's a pretty complex area, is it? And not without at least accusation that it can be manipulated to produce a certain outcome.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Boxing's favourite idiot, Gervonta Davis. I should say, I don't think we've mentioned this before. He's fighting in December Yuriorkis Gamboa, who is a quality operator, albeit one that's a little bit old now. But he's still a pretty decent level. Well, I'm hoping he's still a pretty decent level fighter. He had a real barn burner several years ago against Terence Crawford. No, I think that was at super feather, and Gervonta Davis is fighting at lightweight. So, which I said earlier on, I couldn't remember if his next fight was at lightweight or not. But no, he's fighting Gamboa at lightweight, and then he's saying he wants to fight Lomachenko. But if that doesn't happen, he should fight Berchelt. Because he can definitely come up to lightweight.
Yeah.
I don't know how that did make super feather. So anyway, but he does have that fight scheduled. And the other bit of random news I had that I thought was quite interesting, and there was a lot of press coverage and various boxing people throwing their toys out the pram, going back to the Canelo Kovalev fight. The main event for the fight was substantially delayed, and do you know for why, Ryan?
I do know why this is, actually. This is because there was a non-aggression pact between DAZN and the UFC.
And it's interesting that you phrase it like that, given that they're both combat sports. So well done.
Well, not just a hat rack, Andy. Not just a hat rack.
Touche. So the UFC fight, the main event, Diaz versus Masvidal, which I think was something of a grudge match. Diaz is like very, very popular, isn't he, in the UFC kind of community? He's a very big name. The fight was I don't know which. There's two of them. I think there's brothers, but I think it was this one that fought Conor McGregor twice that got like huge pay-per-view numbers. So while that fight was going on, they basically paused the boxing and didn't show the Canelo fight. I think it was after 12 in Vegas that it came out. I think it was 12:30 that fight started, which is obviously very late. But it's Vegas. You think it would have destroyed their like East Coast viewing numbers, having it on in the States at like whatever 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
I would have thought like on the East Coast, I would have thought would be pretty catastrophic for the number of people that would watch it.
And there's one other thing I didn't mention. Okay, now we're used to George Groves getting a little bit of shit, but do you know who's giving him shit this time?
Someone other than Carl Frost.
Yeah, Carl Frampton. Right?
Oh, really?
Carl Frampton suggested that George Groves quit on his fight against Callum Smith, right? So George Groves, as eloquently as he ever does, pips back with, "I just saw Carl Frampton suggesting in an interview with Callum Smith that I quit. If you've got something to say at half pint, then say it to me, you jealous little cunt. Fuck all about me and fuck all about what it took to even make it to that fight. I'm not getting to let haters like you diminish my career. Research my career and see what I overcame and try to find quit in me." Fucking harsh.
I think Frampton touched something of a nerve there.
He did as well.
Wow.
I know, right? Well, because we've got to remember that, like, George Groves had to, like, basically have his shoulder put back together to make that fight.
That is very true.
So, yeah, remember he was, people were worried his shoulder was going to fly out at any minute during the course of that evening.
I mean, I understand, I guess, what Frampton said, because whenever it's like a body shot, I think people are more inclined to say that they're making a choice rather than if he's prone unconscious on the canvas. Do you know what I mean? I think I understand maybe that's where Frampton was coming from, but I mean, I don't know. Frampton obviously has a much more informed opinion about it than I do, but yeah, I don't know. Quit seems a bit harsh. Groves was a fighter, was he? He was a battler. But interesting. I like it. A bit spicy chat between the two. I like it.
So spicy. So spicy. Right, well, do you want to tell me, Andy, what grinds your gears this week?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah, I do want to tell you what grinds my gears, and I will tell you, right? And it's Canelo. Right?
Oh, go on, tell me.
I don't want to diminish his achievements, because I think for all we've said, there's still the question mark, or his legacy will be further cemented when he beats some prime fighters at these higher weights. But regardless of that, he still achieved an awful lot. But for him to come out and say, "I'm clearly the best pound for pound fighter in the world. The fights against Golovkin were relatively straightforward, and I will fight him again for money, and if people are interested, but it clearly won't be a challenge for me." I mean, I know you've got to promote yourself a bit, and I know there's always got to be a bit of bluster, but I mean, rein your neck in a wee bit, pal. Like, I mean, you did actually lose at least one and possibly two of those fights, and neither of them were clearly easy. You took like a fairly substantial beating, as did Golovkin, but those were two tough fights that were. I mean, the first one he lost, second one was a knife edge. So for him to come out and say that he won easily, and therefore, and with all his other achievements, he's the pound for pound number one, I do not accept that to be true. I think he should be definitely winding his neck and show like a little bit of humility. He's got his deal. He's the big cheese. He's got these 8 fights left with DAZN. He's getting paid like uber tens of millions of dollars for each one of them. You can adopt a little bit more of a reflective approach to your chit chat. So Canelo, yes, you are a bit of a legend, but you need to wind that shit in, because it's just not fact based.
It's not fact based, man.
It's not fact.
It's not, and I'm not saying that he's not a good boxer, right? He's very good, but at the same time, he doesn't need to be saying shit like that, because if he wants to be talking about being great of all time and all this, he needs to start fighting like real top dogs in divisions, because it wasn't clear with Triple G. It certainly wasn't, I mean, at super middleweight, he fought fucking Rocket Fielding. Poor guy. Poor guy was just, he's fucking, he was just happy to be there.
He's like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm getting my Christmas presents on the go. Yeah, I agree. I know. So, yeah, it was kind of, I think it was, I don't think it's the right approach to take. I think he's starting to, believe your hype, that's fine, but like, calm down a bit. Mm-hmm. Calm down a bit with that shit. Don't be saying stuff that anyone that knows anything about it's just going to be like, well, it's not true. It clearly wasn't easy fights. You got, you could easily have beat. It didn't exactly cruise past Jacobs either.
No.
So, I don't quite know what he's talking about. He needs to wind his neck in a wee bit with that shit. So we'll see. But I mean, he's still got time. He's still young, and we'll see what his career looks like at the end. And maybe by the end of his 8 fights, he will be like, oh well, you can say he's the pound for pound, number one pound for pound. But if he starts beating people like if he beat like a Bivol over a Beterbiev, if he beat Beterbiev, I think a lot of people would be like, right, he's number one pound for pound. I think a lot of people would just go, jump, he's there. Mm-hmm. And you could make a strong case for it. But I don't think on the basis of the fact that he lost and drew, at best, the 2 fights versus Golovkin, and then beats by a little bit Jacobs, and then beats by a little bit in the end. Mm-hmm. An aging Kovalev. I think it's hard to say, he's definitely pound for pound one just now. I think he needs to decide how much he wants to take risks and build legacy, or how much he wants to sort of have fights where he's a heavy favourite and collect uber tons of money. 8 fights left to make your decision. Canelo, what you gonna do?
I know.
Okay, I know. We're gonna get some haters for saying that.
We are.
Some people are gonna anyway.
But it's provocative. It gets people going.
Okay. And I don't think it's entirely without some thought attached to it as well. It's not just I'm like spouting for the sake, well, a bit, but I mean, there is some supporting evidence to what we're saying, or what I'm saying. So anyway, that's it. That's what grinds my gears this week. Please, Ryan, this week, do you have something that's been yanking your chain, been grinding the old gears there?
You know what really grinds my gears?
I had something else, but something happened today that made me switch all of that. Okay,
right. And
what's grinding my gears is the WBC, right? Because right.
Right. I think we should have spoken about this. If it's what I think you're going to talk about, we should have mentioned it in the news.
Because
Go on.
They have now said that Tyson Fury has replaced Dillian White as the mandatory challenger for Deontay Wilder's WBC belt amid the drug scandal. Okay?
Yes.
Now, here's my problem with this, okay? That Dillian White was fighting Oscar Rivas for that, to become the WBC interim champ. And he won that, to become the mandatory challenger.
Yes.
So, if you are to remove someone and install someone else, surely it would have to be Oscar Rivas and not Tyson Fury. Surely, right? I don't understand this. I don't understand how the WBC decides this shit, because it seems like they just go, meh, whatever. And actually, to be honest, nothing is proved with Dillian White. His boxing license hasn't been suspended by the British Boxing Board of Control. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand all this shit at all. You know?
Yeah, it seems a strange turn of events. So Dillian Whyte is now probably going to get a shot at the WBC title in 2045. I think is the latest estimates. Around the same time as peak population on the earth is when Dillian Whyte's up for a shot.
You know? So, like, basically, this is the weird one, all right? So, they've said they've met with Dillian Whyte. They're doing an investigation. So, the fight against Wilder in February 2020 will be the mandatory of that year. So, we have to set the next mandatory for February 2021. If Dillian Whyte is cleared of everything, he will then be confirmed as the interim and mandatory challenger for 2021. That would be February 2021 before he gets a fucking shot at the WBC title.
And you know as well that, like, they're not going to fight. Fury and Wilder are not going to fight in February. There's absolutely no prospect in fighting in February. Fury's on his secondment to the WWF or WWE, which is it? WWE. And Wilder's going to not fight 3 months after fighting Ortiz, even assuming it goes spectacularly well for him. He's still not going to fight 3 months later. So it's a nonsense anyway.
I know. You know, and what happens if, let's say, by the end of the year, all of this UCAD stuff is closed? Then what? Mm-hmm. Then do they go, oh no, we put Dillian Whyte back in? Or do they say, well, actually, we've made our decision, so Dillian Whyte, sorry. If I was Dillian Whyte, I would actually just start campaigning with another governing body, because it seems to me the WBC does not want Dillian Whyte to fight for that heavyweight title. I don't know if they think he has too good of a shot of beating Deontay Wilder. And the money, maybe they think he's not a big enough name to beat Deontay Wilder for their liking.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. He has sort of doggedly pursued it, because obviously there was the chance he could have fought Joshua, couldn't he? Mm-hmm. He was offered the Joshua fight, but turned it down. So it was kind of like, he was always really determined that this was the one he was going to pursue. Why do they have to make the Fury's happening anyway? Why do they have to make it a mandatory? Why can't they just go, well, you can still fight Fury, and then if they're wanting to go, oh well, like it's a postponement or whatever, we'll postpone the mandatory because of this happening to White. Then why not just say that the Fury fight is a voluntary, and then the next fight he has is a mandatory, and have it in an interim period? Like, what if you're going to do it that way? Why not do it like that? I don't know. It's just weird.
And I thought the rules were that after you have a mandatory, you get a voluntary defense, right? Mm-hmm. So what have they then now gone? You only get a mandatory once a year. So you can fight as many times as you want and have as many voluntary defenses as you want, as long as you fight one mandatory, is what he seems to be saying to me. Listeners, if you know... Yeah, the listeners will know. I can't remember. I thought it was maybe it is one mandatory within the year. I think it might be. I'm not sure. It might be different for different bodies, but yeah, if anyone's got a conclusive answer on that, by all means, please let us know. So, anyway, that's what grinds my gears this week.
Poor old Dillian Whyte. If only he hadn't failed that drugs test.
This is why I think it's a stitch-up, man. It's fucking weird, huh? It's really weird. Mauricio Salomon in the fucking lab there with his little droppers.
Good.
Right, well, so that is our episode for this week. As always, please remember you can like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about this fucking amazing boxing podcast, and email us boxing.unwrapped@gmail.com if you have any shit to tell us. But with that in mind, it's goodbye from me, Ryan.
And goodbye from me, Andrew.